Chapter 14. Reconnaissance in Force. Larry had returned with my uniform the past evening, and I was not totally satisfied. The riding pants were the wrong shade of tan, the equestrian riding boots didn't come all the way up to my knees, and my World War II Field Marshal baton was only a replica made in China. However, I was pleased to find that Larry had found a diagonal scarlet felt sash, which I could wear across the front of my uniform to display my medals, awards, and decorations. Of course, I was too modest to worry about such things ordinarily, but I knew that such things mean a lot to the men. Later in the evening, there was a banzai attack by enemy sappers and assassins, getting as close as 100 clicks from our fortifications. Fortunately, the men repelled the attack and then chased the enemy force back into the forest, using their personal vehicles as assault units. It was the bravest thing I ever saw, but unfortunately it was an all-night battle, and the men didn't fall back behind our lines until 10:00 the next morning. Additionally, this battle also took up the time I had allotted for the unit's calisthenics. Since nearly the whole unit was engaged beyond our outer defenses, the boots-on-the-ground defense of our position fell to Ranger Dan and me. Ranger Dan volunteered to secure our rear approaches from his trailer, and I was then tasked with fan fire over our entire forward kill zone. There was some slack time in my kill zone, and I used the time wisely for planning purposes. The plan was set for our attack on the coal mine entrance, but I realized that some of the finer details of the plan were missing. "Reconnaissance in force," my tactical mind blurted out, while the rest of me felt the embarrassment of such a fundamental omission. I instantly realized that there was no reasonable way to disclose this breach of battle protocol to the rest of the unit without breaking their spirit and lowering troop morale. To avoid this, I would simply present the plan uncovered without disclosing the timeline for its formulation. Princess Athena arrived behind our fortifications at about 1100 with our new trans-geographic multiplexers. It seems that she knew another ghost whisperer who not only sold all of the several models of trans-geographic multiplexers, but also accepted natural-born account vouchers, as long as they included postage stamps and the proper wording on the front. "You can't be too careful these days," remarked Princess Athena. "The world is filled with scammers and nutcases." I called our team meeting at 11:30 to go over the Reconnaissance in Force mission and ask for volunteers. Larry was eating some Kentucky Fried Chicken he had gotten while shopping for my uniform, and Jake was playing golf on this smartphone. "Turn off that phone," I ordered. "Those things are New World Order tracking devices. No wonder our position is being constantly attacked." "Jake got that phone at Walmart," interjected Larry. "Walmart phones are all scanned by the experts in the tire-changing department, by the guy who sells batteries and battery chargers." My team was brave, hard-working, dedicated, and self-sacrificing, but they had not grasped the concept of OPSEC, which is short for Operational Security. After setting the men straight on the dangers of smartphones, I briefly discussed the dangers of cable television, ATMs, credit cards, video games, digital cameras, LED lights, the internet, unleaded gas, electric cars, and Taylor Swift lyrics. Our meeting was called to discuss reconnaissance in force against the coal mine entrance, but I always like to educate my men whenever possible. My goal was to make the men and women under my command more like me every day. Back to the reconnaissance in force plan, I outlined the plan as follows. The mine entrance was 5 miles away by land. Our force would advance overland, destroying or degrading enemy assets and taking prisoners en route. Once the squad faced the enemy's fortifications, a small contingent would infiltrata, taking out sentries, sabotaging fuel storage areas, and mapping the battlefield. Finally, recovering the dead and wounded, the reconnaissance team would stage a fighting retreat through enemy lines and return to home base, where all prisoners would be waterboarded. The whole operation would be carried out at night using the best night vision technology we have. "We don't have any night vision stuff," commented a confused Larry. "I do," added Tripper. "The game warden claims it's illegal for hunting, but how would he ever catch me? I remember one time—" "Stow it," I bellowed. "Your hunting stories are of no relevance to this serious military operation." "Due to the dangerous nature of this operation, I will only call on volunteers," I added. Then Jake raised his hand and spoke. "But sir, why not drive up to the coal mine entrance on a four-wheeler? We hunt squirrels up there in the Hickory Grove. We do it all the time. There's even a path up the hill." I didn't have time to justify every detail of my plan as it was time for action. This is not a squirrel hunting trip, Jake. This is a reconnaissance in force as part of a larger strategic battle plan, I explained. But I don't think he understood. I got no volunteers. Monty needed to work on his helicopter, and Princess Athena still needed to calibrate the trans-geographic multiplexers. Ranger Dan was still working on the defenses in our rear behind his trailer, and the rest of the men were still recovering from wounds suffered in last night's attack. It was left to me to conduct the reconnaissance in force alone. In two ways, this development was good, as it would first allow the unit to learn how such an operation was conducted, and second, I could be assured that it would be done right the first time. After I dismissed the men and deployed them to their assigned duty stations, I overhear part of a conversation among Larry, Tripper, and Jake. "Psychobabble," I heard Larry say. "Dingle-brained Looney Tunes," laughed Tripper. "No," replied Jake. "Looney Tunes would make it funny." For some reason, the three laughed out loud at these inside jokes, but I was gratified that the men were in such high spirits that they were talking shop. That's the whole point of good leadership, to get the troops vested in the mission.